this is probably the most radical departure from what the mainstream account was, because I immediately saw Trump out there and all these news media accounts sourced to an unnamed administration official. You can look it up. It's basically in every major media outlet saying this person hated Christians and was motivated by anti-Christianity. And when I first read that, I didn't think much of it. I figured, okay, well, there's a lot of people with strong views in this country. Maybe it's not crazy that someone would be anti-Christian. But then I start reading the manifesto. I go through and on the social media accounts before they were taken down, of course, because we're not allowed to know anything. It's very frustrating. Right. But a lot of the posts were cached. And I realized not only is this guy not anti-Christian, at least from his point of view, this guy is a devout, like Christianity was central to his worldview, and not just right up until the week of the shooting. He's making posts citing the book of Revelations and comparing Trump to the Antichrist and, all these things I don't agree with, but it's like clearly, embedded in the Christian eschatology. And that wasn't just a momentary thing where he, had a dalliance with religion. He was the head of some Protestant Christian chapter while he was at Caltech as an undergraduate. And when I interviewed his friends, I always just go out and I say, anybody who wants to talk to me, anything I can verify, I will publish. Like I'm not looking for a certain thing. And what I heard again and again was this guy was very serious about his religion, not the type that was going around evangelizing, but he was like, it was his organizing framework for seeing the world. So I don't know where Trump got that from. If I'm cynical, I'll say he's trying to echo National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, which I think I talked about last time I was on, which is his attempt to cast speech as predictors of future acts of terrorism. And so he has a bunch of criteria for it. And one of them is anti-Christian sentiment. And so I don't know if he's trying to squeeze this into that framework, or maybe that's just how he views the world and he sees the investigator's curse. He sees things that aren't there because it's the patterns he's looking for. I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is there's absolutely zero evidence for that this person was anti-Christian, and there's an abundance of evidence that he was really motivated by Christian theology.
Interesting. That's wild. So now, another thing some social media accounts have had in common is they're saying, well, this wouldn't have happened if we did have this new ballroom. Here's a screenshot of all the influencers saying the new ballroom itself would have prevented this. That just seems so dumb.
Well, and this was all coordinated influencer posts almost simultaneously.
Right. What can we make of this?
I thought it was grotesque because we're talking about a situation in which, humans almost got killed, and you're immediately going to make it not even about something that would prevent the next one, but for some design and decor kind of like I don't really have a view on it. I don't care. Like,
right.
Sure, whatever.
Something
I don't know.
I wrote about this morning in the newsletter is it feels very Hunger Games because again I point out that this is a ballroom full of unrelatable people. Most of them have refused to report honestly about the war in Gaza, the war in Ukraine, the Epstein class, continued human trafficking. They don't report on it, and they get this reward of a 4-course dinner and a ball gown for it, or they protect those things. They're either the political or the media elite, and their answer to this is fancy new digs. It just rings to me so grotesque and out of touch. Can you comment on that this sort of victim class we're being asked to empathize with over the weekend?
Yeah, this is part of the story of a lot of these politically motivated violence that media doesn't really talk about, which is to ask the question, why are there more of these cases happening? Not to justify it. I don't believe in violence at all. I'm a big fan of our free speech freedoms in this country, and to the extent that violence happens, that tends to undermine them. So I don't support it at all. But we should look at cases like these, see that this guy went to Caltech, seems very smart as far as I could tell. Friends described him as likable, not the usual profile of a shooter that you think of someone being like, really off-putting and a loner. Not at all. And that echoes previous high-profile acts of violence. And to me, that's more alarming even than if they were that loner, because there are a lot of regular people. If semi-normal people are falling into this, I don't know what it is, despair or political ideology that causes them to take up violence, then we have a lot more of it that could happen than when it was isolated to just fringe corners. So to your point, I think a part of this is rooted in alienation, feeling as though the government doesn't represent you. I think most Americans feel that way. Polling makes that very clear. And some percentage of people are going to respond in such a way that they're going to, despair over that and feel, as he says in his own manifesto, he says, well, I feel like no one's doing anything, and so I have to do something.
If
And
in
that's-
fact we can take that at face value, though,
Right, the
which
reported
many
manifesto, I
times,
should say.
right? A lot of times we can't. We don't know if he was acting on his own accord. We don't know. I mean, people in the chat are saying, hypnotized, MK Ultra, like that's a real thing that has happened before. We can't know.
I know. I just have a hard time. I don't trust anything the government tells me anymore. It's hard for me to buy these official narratives, but then just watch their actions afterwards. And so you have President Trump then on television talking about renewing FISA, right? And it's this push towards this control grid that Catherine Austin Fitts has been talking about. It's this, as you mentioned, this clamping down on free speech. It's this moving us towards this censorship industrial complex and the surveillance state. So we got to get FISA. Like he's on television almost immediately talking about renewing these things that many clear-headed individuals say, no, absolutely we should not be renewing this. And it's ensnaring Americans, citizens of the United States, in this dragnet, which is a violation of the U.S. Constitution.